Hello, my name is Father Lawrence Jagfeld. I am a Franciscan friar of the Sacred Heart Province, headquartered in St. Louis, and I am also the administrator of CUSA, an apostolate of persons with chronic illness and/or disability. The scriptures for today, the 32nd Sunday in Ordinary Time, contain two stories about widows. Those two stories bring us to a reality of the ancient world that perhaps is foreign to our current situation, but also has a great deal of similarity. We read from the Gospel of St. Mark. In the course of his teaching, Jesus said to the crowds, "Beware of the scribes who like to go around in long robes and accept greetings in the marketplaces, seats of honor in synagogues, and places of honor at banquets. They devour the houses of widows, and as a pretext recite lengthy prayers. They will receive a very severe condemnation." He sat down opposite the treasury and observed how the crowd put money into the treasury. Many rich people put in large sums. A poor widow also came and put in 2 small coins worth a few cents. Calling his disciples to himself, he said to them, "Amen, I say to you, this poor widow put in more than all the other contributors to the treasury, for they have all contributed from their surplus wealth, but she, from her poverty, has contributed all she had, her whole livelihood." We're all familiar with the collection plate in our churches. We do this at every Sunday liturgy. We pass around a basket or a plate and ask people to make contributions to the church, to support the work of the church. Sometimes we even have a second collection for a specific cause or a specific issue. This is not what is going on in the gospel today. The people of Jerusalem, as they entered the temple, were expected to place money in a collection, not so much as a free will offering, but rather as a tax, the temple tax. They were taxed for using the temple. And those taxes not only supported the priests, but they also went to the Roman treasury. In this particular gospel, Jesus begins by excoriating the Pharisees and the Jewish officials for their tendency to lord it over the other people. One of the phrases that he uses is particularly damning. They devour the houses of widows. Then he goes on to give us this example of a poor widow who puts 2 small coins into the treasury, 2 small coins which would be her tax. It is not a free will offering. It is something she is expected to do. This is where the problem exists. No one in this culture and in this particular period of history would be expected to give money in such a way that they would make their living situation worse than it was. This poor widow is obviously destitute, and by donating these 2 small coins, Jesus tells us, gives us all that she had. This is simply not right. Not only should she not do this, but she should not be expected to do this. The Pharisees and the temple officials should not expect her to take out of her subsistence living and donate it to their needs. Jesus tells us, because of these kinds of expectations, because of these kinds of behaviors, these men can expect a very severe condemnation. What is the lesson that we are to take from this? We are to look at this and realize that once again we are being called to a different kind of leadership. The Christian is not here to be served, but rather to serve. Unlike the high priest and the priests of the temple from the time of Jesus, we are not to look for honors. We are not to look for places of respect. We are not supposed to take the first place. We are rather to take the second place, to take the lower place. We are to put our needs second to the needs of others. And we are not to live off the poor, but rather we are to be generous to them. Again, we must keep in context when this happens in the gospel. Let us remember that Jesus has made his way to Jerusalem, that he is about to give his life on the cross for our salvation. Just as this poor widow has given everything she has, Jesus will give us everything he has, even his very lifeblood, for our sake. This is the example that is being held up to us in today's gospel, the example of Jesus himself, who is ready to give everything for our sake. The scriptures ask us to examine our own lives today and ask ourselves, how much are we willing to give for the sake of the poor, for the sake of the church, for the sake of God? For more information about CUSA, please go to our website at www.cuson.org.